Hey guys, it's Rachel Castile. Welcome to Mind Map Wednesday here at Typology Corner. This is where we break down personality insights to help you understand how your mind works and how to move through life with more clarity. Today we're talking about two totally different styles of communication, two ways people take in and express what they know, and that is consume and blast. So if you've ever been around someone who talks forever but never lands the plane, or if you've ever held back because you didn't quite feel ready to speak, this video is for you. So stay tuned. We're going to get into what is consume, what is blast, what functions are used in your cognitive stack, and what it looks like to have that strong or to have that weak, and how what balance looks like depending on which one that you lead with. So let's get into it. Starting out, so in objective personality, consume and blast, they're both information animals. They describe how we handle knowledge, how we gather it, how we process it, and how we share it. And then now I've got a visual breakdown to show you here. This is what it looks like. So for consume, it is taking in information for the self. And for blast, it is sharing known information with the tribe. So the functions that are being used for consume, we're looking at an extroverted observer paired with an introverted decider. So that looks like gathering in new information from the world around you. So taken in from the outside, paired with the introverted decider. So filtering what you're gathering through your personal identity. So like making sense of it for the self. So the DI is kind of the gate of what's being consumed. It's like what the DI actually is valuing or wants to consume. So taking in information, these are both like ambivert processes. They both have an introverted function and an extroverted function working together to do this process of consuming and blasting. So for blast, it's the opposite. We've got known information. This is stuff that you've already gathered, things that you either known patterns, known facts, depending on if it's NI or if it's SI. It's organizing internally and then pushing that out and sharing it with the tribe. So it's taking known information and teaching it. So it's like think of it like a monologue, not a dialogue. Play is more of a dialogue. But blasting would be, I'm here to share, I'm here to guide, I'm here to lead, I'm here to direct in a way. But yeah, these two, they're both info coin related. So they're info animals versus energy animals. The play and the sleep are the energy animals, and these are the info ones. So now what that looks like, if you've ever heard info dominant, that means if both of these are in your top 3 animals, then you would be an info dominant person. And what that looks like, that means that you value clarity, data, and internal accuracy more than energy expression or tribe feedback. So yeah, I personally am an info dominant type because my animal stack is consume, play, blast, then sleep. So consume and blast are both in my top 3, but I'm dominantly a consume type. So yeah, most people don't lead with both, and whichever one you lead with really shapes how you talk, how you think, and how you relate to the world, how you show up. So yeah, now let's look at what it feels like to lead with each. So if you're high in consume, you tend to read, research, and observe a lot. You think before you speak. Feel like there's always more to learn. That's a key point. For a high consume type, they're always seeing the holes in their information. They're like, okay, I know all of this, but there's more out there to know on this topic. I need to go back out and consume. I need to take in more. In a sense, it's like you're meditating on what you know, like thinking before you speak, but not in the sense of like sleeping on it, but it is an awareness of like this, like going back out. It's like, I need to gather more in. You're seeing what you don't have almost in the information, which leads you to like go back to the grocery store. You're seeing, hey, we're out of water. Hey, we're low on apples. We're low on this, so it's like the self kicks you back out to go bring in more for the self. So yeah, And when you do talk, you bring people on the journey. This is a speech pattern of high consume types, that they'll take you along for the journey of where they learned everything. They'll tell you the story, how they got to where they are now. So you show the how behind your thinking step by step. You might share a full story or a rabbit trail before the point lands. Let me get some water. So yeah, this is what a high consume person will be like. I always feel responsible to like share the story, to share the whole journey, to really be thorough, to explain. If I arrived if I arrived to something because I watched like all these 5 videos and like this showed me some point, like I'm inclined to be like, hey, you ought to watch all these videos so you can come to the same conclusion I came to. And really, like, it's not necessary. It's just a high blast. I mean, it's a high consumes tendency to be like, let me show you how I arrived to this. So yeah, it's definitely what I do. So that's not wrong to take people along for the full story. It's just your way of building connection through depth. That's the high consume way. Now, what does it look like to lead with blast, or if you're really high in blast? You're more wired to lead by teaching or instructing. You get to the point fast. You speak in headlines, not paragraphs. So you can be more concise. You're ready to give what you already know. You're like, let me just show you how it's done. I already know this. Like, I'm just going to kind of package it and give it to you. Yeah. So you move with confidence and efficiency. You've already done the processing internally. Now it's time to share. So yeah, part of that, when you look at high blast, it's like highly organized on the inside. It's like, I've got this, it's ready, I already know this, I can just export this file. You value clarity and don't always feel the need to express how you got there. Yeah, it's like, I got the clarity, here's the clarity. Here's the end result, here's the truth. Take this piece and run with it. You just know it's time to say it. It's like, you can tell, like, this thing's ready, put it out. Let's make something with this. So, yeah, I can just see like a contrast between me and my husband. Like, I'm more I bring him up a lot, but yeah. Yeah, a type that has like stronger, higher NI, like as an INTJ, like that's his top 2 functions. You blast with your introverted observer and with your extroverted decider. For like an IJ type, that's their first 2 functions. EJs, it's still the first 2. With the EP types and the IP types, they're using lower functions. It's not always the demons, depending on if they're jumper or not or whatever, but for the EPs, yeah, it's always like demon processes. At least one of them would be. At least the internal observer would be to blast. But yeah, so just showing you like whatever comes first. Sometimes blasting is easier because of what your type is, but still there are types who are high in blast. It might be a savior for them, even though it is using a demon function. So it's kind of unrelated. It's just what your go-to is if you're putting out information or more inclined to consume. So yeah, now let's look at the mindset behind the animal. So here's what each side often believes underneath the behavior. So we're going to look at some common statements you could hear from a high consume type or a high blast type. So for consume says, I need to know more before I speak. Let me explain how I figured this out. I don't want to be wrong. I want to be thorough. You can hear the heart of that. And then for blast, it's let me tell you what I know. I've processed this. It's time to share. Let me organize this so others can use it. Totally opposite approach on the spectrum. So now let's look at how this practically affects you, like in day to day, like if you're talking with people, if you're in a group, how you feel, depending on if you're lead consume or lead blast. More so savior consume or savior blast. It affects how you speak up in a group, whether you feel inclined to do so or not. to lead the group or to just absorb what the group is like putting out. High consume might be inclined to be like, no, I want to hear what y'all have to say. A high blast might be like, let's take the group in this direction. I know this would be good. It's like, I can see something. They can direct easier. It also affects whether you interrupt or hesitate. Like, will you speak up? Will you interject? Yeah, this can be related to your animal stack order on your info coins and whether you absorb or output under pressure. Yeah, when the pressure's on, do you just take in and be still? Or are you like, does it have that effect of you creating something, of you pushing something out? Yeah, because pressure could like cause you to lean into what you're comfortable with. So that's how this could show up. And even how you take feedback or engage conflict. This is so true. Thinking about like maybe a high blast type might not want to consume feedback. They might just like push it out. It's a possibility. Like there's a lot of variables, but just seeing how it is related to these animals. Or a high consume type might want to take in the feedback, might want to really hear, absorb the incoming information that kind of updates their file in a way. Blast might learn from their own mistakes and maybe not somebody else's feedback. Something to think about, like real world situations with that. And now let's look at what imbalance looks like. What does over consuming look like, or what does over blasting look like practically? So let's start with consume. Over consuming can look like you keep learning but never share anything you're learning. Not feeling ready to share. You feel like you're never ready. Maybe you're just always seeing what you don't know. You're always seeing that there's more information. I could know about this before making a decision, before stepping out and like creating something with what you've learned, or teaching somebody or sharing it with somebody else. Over consuming can look like you doubt yourself even when you've got gold. When you're like, you've got the best thing, you've got the product that's going to change the world, and you still doubt yourself in sharing it. I've struggled with this a lot in my life, like a ton. It plays a factor in my content creation still. It's like I'm always looking at what I don't know, which leads me to be really thorough, to be like covering my bases. Do I have a well-rounded way of presenting this topic? And so yeah, I'm going to get into what growth looks like, and I'll share more on that, on how I'm growing in that. But this is what over-consuming can look like. It's like you might miss opportunities to lead, to teach, or help because you're still waiting to be sure in yourself. You're like, I know this, but I'm more aware of what I don't know. Therefore, I don't feel qualified to teach yet. I see that other people know more than I do. You know, it can stop you from helping the community that knows less than you, that you would be a blessing to. Yeah, it's almost like looking at, well, I don't have a degree in this. I don't really know what I'm talking about compared to these people. They've been doing this a lot longer than me. So it's like, yeah, over consuming can kind of bench you from showing up and giving what you have. So yeah, taking a while to launch. Now let's look at the opposite. What does imbalance look like? What is overusing blast? It could look like you push out info too fast. You haven't really processed it, but you're already blasting on it. So now we're looking at the blast and the sleep. The more that you can sleep process, the more resolved, then you have something to blast. But if you're super high in blast and you're slow and your sleep is low, you might be blasting and pushing out and creating products and making stuff too quick that doesn't have much depth to it in a way. You might miss key insights or talk over others. Yeah. So high blast, it's already got what it's going to say. It already knows what it wants to give. It's missing the intricate details. It has an aversion to taking in the new. It's just pushing out what it already got. And it's the loud one potentially in the room, the one that's got something to say on everything. And isn't necessarily looking for greater clarity. It's kind of can be like, I already know, and I'm going to tell y'all what to do. in a way. This is like an extreme version. But yeah, also it could be you're always on and that leads to burnout. So you're always producing, always out doing something, making it happen. High blast, you could think the kid that was already an entrepreneur, just getting stuff done, making the money, launching the business idea, as a opposite of seeing like the extreme consumer who knows everything about whatever the topic is, and it hasn't like manifested or hasn't had any like external creation towards the knowledge in a way. Yeah, so you give a lot, but you don't always take in what others have to offer back. That's what it could look like. Produce mode and not receiving. So, yeah. And the bottom line of that is if you never share what you know, no one benefits for the consumer. But if you never pause to take in new perspectives, your insight goes stale. That's the kind of the weakness of each one if they don't lean into the opposite side. So, yeah. Now let's look at how to grow in the opposite. If you're high in consume, it could look like sharing before you feel ready. Already start talking about to give what you already have. I can feel that right now. Like as I am making videos for like, okay, it's Mind Map Wednesday. What do I want to talk about next? I have to access and lean in as a consume first type and be like, what can I speak on? What do I already know? Yes, there's way more to learn about consume and blast than what I know, but like, what can I package? What can I talk about that I actually already have? So, as a consume dominant, you're pretty much going to feel like you're speaking before you're ready. And that's how consume grows. Share before you feel ready. Speak it out. Messy is fine. Say it all over the place. Kind of just go with it. Give what you got. Speak it out. Know that you've learned. Know that what you've learned is already valuable. Somebody doesn't know it and would be grateful that you packaged it, that you created the content, that you started the business. You might think like, oh, creating a lemonade stand, that's just such a simple business. I should do something way better. I need to go get a degree. I need to be some physicist. I need to, invent this thing. That could be like the product of a ton of knowledge. Like as a high consumer, you might think like, oh man, like that's what's respectable. It's like I really went and got the big knowledge and now I can create something amazing. But like, what do you already have? Make something with it, put it out there as it is, and let it just exist. Let people absorb it. Let people take it in. Yeah, another really good thing is practice summarizing your thoughts for a friend or journal entry. So teach a friend something that you know. It's less high pressure. You don't have to do something that's super public. Or journal your day. Journal what you've been learning. If you watched a video, journal out what's your takeaway from this. Write a small report on what you got from something, what stood out to you, what you're going to incorporate in your life. Like it gets you out of the consuming mode and into what can I do with what I learned? What can I create with what I've learned? Or who can I teach? How could I take this information and give it to another person? You read a book, you read some good advice. How can I turn that into 10 tips on how to do such and such better that I got from this book that I read? So that's having that practice of exporting as you learn is how you grow as a high consume type. Maybe hang out with some blasters and like glean from them, like how they do it, like how they enthusiastically turn around and take what they've learned and share it with their communities. Like piggyback off of their momentum and kind of learn that other side of things. And so the opposite, if you're high in blast, what does growth look like for you? So it could look like asking yourself, what might I be missing? Just checking in of like, okay, I'm so confident about these things. what other aspect of this have I not looked at that I could sharpen my skills, that I could look into? I love this method, but are there other methods of doing the same thing that'll lead you into consuming other people's advice, other people's feedback? What did other people run into? What other business people in a similar situation, and how did they solve it? So it's like moving past, oh, I already know how to solve this. I already know how to do this. I use this program to do it. Go and look at, well, are there other programs? Maybe there's ones that's better than what I'm currently using that might make this more efficient. That would lead you into researching, and you're going to consume and take in other things. And upon taking in that information, maybe your conclusion doesn't change. You still like what you already knew, but you've begun to expand your knowledge. So now when you blast, you're even more informed. You're like, you know what, guys? Yes, I still have the same perspective, but like I've gone and looked at the spectrum. I've actually taken in other people's advice, and now I can speak from that too. So you're like one-upping your blast, making your blast more potent, adding more depth to it, more richness to it. So if you're high in blast, growth can look like listening without prepping your next sentence. So it's like stepping back, pumping the brakes, and going, I'm just going to listen. I'm not going to give advice. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to try to lead you. I'm not even going to think about what I'm going to say. I'm just going to say, tell me more. Tell me more. Interesting. Why is that? Ask a question instead of telling something. Questions lead to consuming. So what can I ask about this so that I can learn more from this person, that I actually take in what they're saying? I may have this idea of, I know what they're trying to say. I have this idea of who they are. Maybe it's like, no, show me who you are. I want you to tell me about you. Yeah, this is a way to grow and consume as a high blast type. Also, you could watch or read a perspective that you don't agree with completely. Just seek out different perspectives. And maybe that could be like watching a video. You can't respond. You can't even blast on that person. You can in the comment section. You can be like, this is stupid. You don't know what you're talking about. Da, 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 da. But yeah, resist the urge to blast and tell them how wrong they are. And just like absorb and listen to a different perspective. Maybe you have an idea of what capitalism is, or what communism is, what socialism is, what atheism is, what, I don't know, Buddhism is, Hinduism, Christianity. I'm leaving out a lot of examples, but yeah, that idea of like, yes, you know your view, but have you actually looked at the other one? Have you actually given them their day in court? Like, have you heard them out? This is an example of kind of telling your blast to take a back seat and being in consume mode. I want to understand you for you. Not that I have to agree with you at the end of the day, but I consumed you for what you are. I let you explain yourself. Yeah. And also let yourself receive, not just teach. Where can you go and sit under other people and sit in their class and learn something from them? Yeah, attend somebody else's lecture, somebody else's seminar, their Zoom, watch somebody else's YouTube video. That's consuming. If you're used to being in like production mode and getting stuff done and checking stuff off of your own list, go observe somebody else for a while. So yeah. And as an overall point on that, like in growth, you don't need to replace one with the other. One's not good and the other one's bad. It's just, two sides of yourself. It's the dance of information. It's the dance of input and output. It's not a competition. It's just consuming and blasting, receiving and giving. Yeah. So more on learning the dance. Your voice matters, but so does your silence. This is another way to look at it. It's important that you share. It's important that you show up, that you teach, that you train, that you mentor, that you guide, that you create, that you lead, that you build. That's the blaster side of things. It's that taking information and doing something with it, the doing in life, the showing up. But your silence is just as important. And these are both, I'll show this again, both an introverted function, extroverted function, introverted function, extroverted function. So it's important that we spend time in our inner world and we spend time in our outer world. It's important that we sit and we can be silent and take in. Consume is in OP more of an introverted animal, even though it is like they both have an introverted and extroverted function. Sleep and consume is either being fully in your mind, shutting out the world and sleeping. Consume is being open to the outside world and receiving in new for the self. And it requires silence to actually listen. When you're listening, you're actually consuming. You could be in the room and just be sleeping, sleep processing, and not receiving anything that's happening around you. So I want to make that differentiation between sleep and consume. Consume can look introverted, but it's not. It is a ambivert process. Absorbing what's around you for the sake of learning, for the sake of growth, expanding the identity. It's informing the identity. The identity is making a decision, coming to a conclusion, assimilating what it's observing around you. So you can think of consume like people watching in a way. People watching and be watching a movie. And something else I want to highlight around like EP types. EP types lead with an extroverted observer and then introverted decider. As in, consume uses the top two functions of EP types. And these types can look introverted depending on the animal stack. And I just wanted to emphasize this because me as an extrovert, I used to think I was an introvert when I was younger, and I had a lot of trauma, a lot of stuff like that too, all the more. But that consume, because it's listening, it can look introverted, but it is an ambivert process. So I just wanted to emphasize that. And for blast, our dominant IJ types, they have the savior functions if they're not jumpers. I'm just saying that it is the first and the second to blast, using the introverted observer at the top with the secondary extroverted decider. So you can think of the IJ as potentially the most internally organized person. Therefore, they can blast from that known information, that known organized patterns or known organized facts, concrete details, memory in a way. They can blast from that and teach from that really well. But the thing is, I'm an EP type teaching right now with my two demon functions. I'm using my last, my NI, and my FE to teach as an ESTP. So, in other words, there's no type excuse for not using the animals, but do honor your energy flow. Blast for me is third in my energy flow, so it can be draining after a while. So it's just something to think about. We're all wired differently. These animals pull on different parts of ourselves depending on what our type is. And certain things come more natural to us. Some things kind of drain us, but still in the grand scope of things of our whole life, we are made to create things, to teach, to lead, to guide, to put something out and not fully only be an observer of the world. There comes a point when you've observed so much about the world. Man, people would love to sit in on the class you'd put on when you're ready to share about all that you've been learning, So there comes a point, like even the most extreme on the spectrum of introversion, where someone's like really a deep philosopher, contemplator type, their blast might come out in a book. They might not like public speaking, but that book, it's like, oh, this book has such rich insight in it from how deep the sleep and how much consuming they did throughout life, that now that they're gonna blast, it's like so amazing. Or like hearing like the INFP who can like write these amazing fictional worlds and stuff, and all these characters, stuff like Lord of the Rings and Tolkien and things like that. Edgar Allan Poe, like a lot of different people who were like INFPs. Not saying that they're the only writers, but like just an example of having such a rich inner world. At some point it gets blasted in some way. So also keep your mind open for like the different forms of blast. If it's writing, or if it's video, if it's public speaking, if it's creating a business, if it's teaching your children from what you've learned in life, like whatever context. If you, who is your demographic? Do you want it to blast to children, to adults, engineers, like whatever, whatever we're called to, whatever feels natural to us, what our interest draws us to. Yeah, the high blaster, the more that you consume, it just deepens what you're doing. It deepens the work that you're doing. And yeah, and the high consumer, the world would benefit from getting a peep inside on like your inner world of what you've learned in life. And I want to speak to perfectionism. It's a big thing I've dealt with a lot, because I'd say as a high consume type, it's easy to be perfectionistic about the release, about the blast. You can see like, oh, it's missing all this stuff. Like I deal with that a lot. But it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just be present and give what you are. You might really enjoy it. And that's what I'm learning, is that it's fulfilling whenever you start to focus on the side of yourself that it's easy to neglect. And it doesn't mean, hey, be a teacher 24/7 and teach 40 hours a week. That might drain you if you're low in blast, but how can you begin to start doing it? Doing a lot of research might drain you as a blaster. You're like, oh my gosh, I only got a 15-minute threshold for all this researching. But yeah, when can you put that in your week? When can you do it? When can you go research on a topic you think, you're already doing good? You think you're the best pizza maker. You make the best pizza in the world. Well, maybe you could go to other, like pizzerias and see how they do it, and take in their strategies, and you might learn something that improves your business. Like that's an example of a high blaster, already created a company. Maybe you can go learn from other companies and up your game a little bit. So yeah, that's kind of my closing point. I'll read over some of my last thoughts here and see if I missed anything. But so yeah, knowing when to use each is what makes your communication powerful. Blast helps you lead. Consume helps you deepen. The best ideas come from both what you know and what you've been willing to learn. Yeah, what you know and what you've been willing to learn. That's what makes the best ideas. So speak, even if it's imperfect, and pause, even if you're tempted to perform. Ooh, yeah. Pause, even if you're tempted to perform. Yeah. Because what you've learned has value. Yeah. And the world needs your voice, even if you're still figuring out how to use it. Yeah, man. I keep feeling the consume ones because that's my first animal. But yeah. So in the comments, I'd love to hear, do you feel like you're more a consumer or more of a blaster? Drop it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss next week's Mind Map Wednesday. And if you know someone who talks things out forever, or someone who's sitting on gold but won't speak up, share this with them. This just might be an insight that will shift everything for them. And yeah, guys, if you want clarity on knowing your type, and you're like, I for sure want to know my animal stack, what is my energy like? What is my OP type? You can head to my website, typologycorner.com, and book an OPS typing session. I'd love to meet with you and help you lock down what your type is. The process, more information about that is on the website, and it'll tell you about the whole process of getting typed. And yeah, guys, if you're looking for a community and you'd like to just nerd out and talk about all things objective personality, Myers-Briggs, the Enneagram, personality types, soul health, all of that, and you want to be in a community of other people who Love these types of discussions. Join the Patreon. My link for the Patreon is in the description. It's $7 a month. It's a community with a private Discord, and I answer questions every week about whatever topics that you bring up. A private community there to make content based around you guys. So yeah, that's my heart for that. If that's something you'd be interested in, check out the links in the description. And if you got value out of this, go on and give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate knowing that the video made an impact in some way, helped you open your eyes in some way. I'd love to hear it. Even if that's just through doing a thumbs up, like I hear that and I value that. So yeah, guys, that's it for this video. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you on the next video.